Everybody, I'm here to show you my chicken coop setup. I'll start off by saying that I live in northern Jersey. I live in Hudson County, which is a very urban area. I live in Jersey City, to be more specific. So this is my setup. I bought this chicken coop online. It was like $250. I knew it was cheap, and I knew it was going to need modifications of its own, which I did do. So we live in the city, so we're very prone to like raccoons and possums and whatnot. So the first thing I did was with these eye hooks here and a bungee cord, I made it so that they can't lift this up at all, because this lifts up, which which leads to their area where they roost and sleep at night. Right now I have their nesting box closed off because they're only about 3 months old, so they're not even ready for laying eggs, so it's just more for me to clean, so I just have it closed off for now. This here, see, I had to put another eye hook here with a spring, because when this is fully closed, I don't know if you can see, but there's a gap there, and with that gap, wind can get in, and chickens are very susceptible to wind with the winter approaching. So you put this, I put this eye hook on, and it seals that gap. So right now they're out. I have them out, giving them their weekend freedom. So I have that open. So this opens up for access to clean and whatnot. I just cleaned it out, so it's nice and fresh. I have a heat lamp up there just in case it gets really cold in those winter days. I haven't turned it on yet. I want them to get used to the cold. So far they've been doing great at that, but you know, it does tend to get really cold up here in northern Jersey during the extreme winter, so I might put it on for those really cold days. And I know some people say it's not good to do that, but I'm just being a little extra precautious. So I live between two houses. This is the house on the right is mine, and then my neighbor's. So this tends to turn into like a wind tunnel when it gets windy. I mean, it blocks the north wind and the south wind, but winds that whip through here come quick. So for the winter only, I put this tarp, which I have double-sided Velcro on all points here in the middle, on the sides, to block wind for when they're you know, roaming about inside the coop, underneath the coop rather. So far, one thing I had to do with the coop is I had to weatherproof it, because it was really cheap wood and I knew water would easily seep through. So I weatherproofed it with a weather coating for wood. I gave it 2 coatings. That's why it has like a little shimmer. I mean, it's not polyurethane, it's actually just weatherproofing. And it also it came with a lot of like holes from like the knots in the wood, which I covered up with wood glue. You know, I filled in the holes with the wood glue and sanded it and painted over it with the waterproof. This here was a big gap that led straight into their egg box. I didn't like that at all either. So I got the door strips that you get for the bottom of doors in your house to prevent wind from seeping in underneath, and with the staple gun, stapled it all so the water just flows right off, and water can no longer get in that big gap. It was a good gap, like maybe like a 1/4-inch gap. So it's getting dark out, so it might be hard to see, but I have their food hanging from a little 2x4 beam that I kind of built myself in there, and I had that hanging. I have to refill their food soon. I have their water here. I have a heating pad made for metal. It just came in the mail so long ago. I'm going to use that for the winter months when it gets warm, so I can keep their water from freezing. I understand this is kind of small. I have 2 chickens, by the way, 2 hens. They're White Rocks, which is a mixture of I think a Rhode Island Red and a White Rock chicken. I mean, they love it here. On the weekend when I clean it out, I clean it every week, sometimes 2 times a week, depending how dirty they get it. Essentially, I just rake it all. Shovel it away, add a few more a little more topsoil, rake it out, make sure it's nice and clean for them. I always make sure their bedding inside is clean. The dryness is key to healthy chickens, keeping it very dry. So yeah, I let them. They're outside right now. They're down there somewhere. I let them out. My dad has a garden. My father has a garden. They kind of just go in there, even though the garden is kind of dead for the winter. But so this is my setup. In the springtime, what I intend to do is take this wall down and extend it maybe another, like, if you can see for reference, maybe another like 2 by 3 blocks, because I mean this is issued for 2 to 4 chickens, but very tightly. I want them to have more roaming space. I'll give them maybe heighten it even, give them some perches that they can hang out on, give them some toys, because chickens, I like to be entertained, so I intend to do that when the spring comes around. It's not worth the effort right now. It's getting really cold. They're still pretty young, so that should suffice until then. I just cleaned it, so everything's nice and clean. So that's my setup. I've done a few other modifications. I added extra locks, just standard door locks here, because I know the hardware that they give is pretty cheap. I'm gonna probably end up replacing this with better bolt locks. But I also, so they have double lock. They have this, and they also hook it with that. And then even though it's been proven to hold against rain very efficiently, since I weatherproofed it and caulked it with all the wood glue, I still throw this on top during like heavy rain, just for extra protection. It's just a rubber mat that I had lying around. Just keep it. The number one thing is I want to make sure my chickens are nice and dry. So that's it. I'll show you my chickens now. They're probably scratching around out here somewhere. There's one. They're pullets, I think they're still called. They were born September 30th. I picked them up from the hatchery myself. They were little yellow balls of joy. And they're very close. Love being next to each other since they grew up together. I mean, like always. I fed them starter grower. Now they're on the grower finisher. I had no problems with them. They say chickens are very susceptible at an early age. They stayed very healthy. I raised them in my garage in this little makeshift brooder I made. Essentially, it was like a like a big Tupperware bin for storage, and I cut out the top, put chicken wire on it, had a heat lamp on it with some pine shavings, not cedar shavings, because I understand cedar shavings could be toxic. And yeah, they stayed in there until about from September 30th to about mid-October or late October, until I got that and I modified the heck out of it so it's weatherproof. I'm probably gonna have to mess with it every year or so to make sure it stays weather resistant and efficient for them to live in. But they're great. I love having them. They're great animals to watch. Once they start producing eggs, it's gonna be great. They're funny. This particular species is very social. I mean, they're always around me, and they like coming up to me. And I don't know if it's because of the food that I give them, or since I've since I've pretty much raised them. Here, chickies. Man, she's poofing herself out. She might be a little cold. It's about mid-40s right now, but they survived very comfortably in low 30-degree weather in the coop. They stay nice and warm. I made sure. I have a thermometer in there, and I check on them at night just to make sure they're not freezing to death, and they're good. And like I said, for the nights that gets really cold, I'll just turn on the lamp. Here's the plug right here, and that goes all the way up top of the awning, over the fence, and into the coop, along with that heating pad I mentioned for the water. But they're great birds. I love them. They're awesome. During the summer, that's a garden back there. There's a garden here. There's the pool, and they just kind of, I hope they're gonna just run over here and pick at the bugs and whatnot, in the grass and whatever. I mean, for living in the heart of the city, I think I gave them a pretty suitable environment. Anyway, thank you. This is my setup. If you have any suggestions or comments, let me know. Thank you. Have a good day.